Welcome, everybody, to Too Legit to Crit, a tabletop role-playing podcast hosted by people who say, fuck it, we ball. My name is Juan Santana, and with me this evening, we have the Crit Award nominee himself, our very good friend, GM Justin.
Hey everybody, how's it going? I am GM Justin. You can find me at all my socials at Forever GM Justin. You can also find me over at Roll D5, where we specialize in playing any TTRPGs. And yeah, this is my second crit nomination, so fingers crossed I'm able to pull the gold home this year.
Fingers crossed, man. As for us, if you like what we do and you like what you hear here tonight, just come and follow us on all our social medias. Like, subscribe. We've even got a Ko-fi channel that you can come in and you can donate $3 a month, and that'll give you exclusive access to our Traveler's Chalice chat, which will give you insight and the voice in the direction in which this show kind of goes for the future. So it's definitely worth checking out, and it's $3 a month, and it is for a, you know, I would say it's for a good cause. It's for our cause, but it is for, if it's something that you enjoy and you want to see more of, it helps us out massively. Other than that, the only last thing of housekeeping I need to do is that this year I'm going to be taking part in the Shine Night Walk for Cancer Research UK. I do have a giving page that I will be posting on social media religiously until the night of the walk. My aim is to earn £500 for this wonderful cause. So if there's anything you can donate, it'll be much appreciated. So let's get into the show. I think first of all, we kind of have to acknowledge the fact that Atlas wasn't able to make it here tonight. She is absolutely gutted because she was so excited to meet you. But her day today is absolutely full. But you know, she sends all her love, and we send our love to Atlas. Justin, how have you been, man?
Busy, and more busy. So it feels like it never stops.
Well, you know, I know you're a very, very busy person, and I just want to say thank you for cutting out some time just to kind of come and hang out with me today, because, you know, it's been a minute since you and I actually chatted.
Yeah, no, thank you. Thank you for, reaching out and asking. I'm glad that scheduling worked out, and we were able to hang out, because it's been almost a year now since we recorded.
Pretty much. It was around this time that we got together and we did the Call of Cthulhu one shot for the crit list on the channel, which we're gonna get into. We're gonna talk about that, because I don't talk about that fantastic game enough. Because I think
it was a great time.
It was an amazing time. It was one of the most chaotic tables that I've ever been a part of.
Yeah.
And it was glorious. But we will get into that. But first and foremost, what we like to do here on the show is start out by saying, how's your gaming week been? What have you been up to?
Ooh, yeah, that's a good one. Well, I'll kind of work myself backwards. So this past Friday, we played, I played in Whitney Smoking Glue Gun's channel, the Veils of Atheum AP that we're working on. I just introduced my latest character, because now I'm on character 3 in a campaign that has been running for less than a year now. And it is hilarious. It's now, we have if the audience wants to join up onto their Patreon, join us into our Discord, we actually have bingo cards that you can get generated for you to play along as we go through the session, because there are some specific things that we all have and that we do pretty regularly on the channel, and it's now become a point. It's just like, hey, here's one of the blocks is Justin's new character. And there's another one that says when a PC dies. I think it should probably just say when Justin's PC dies, but that's just me. And yeah, no, it's a good time. There's, like I said, we do a lot of crazy stuff, and it's so consistent that we make a bingo card. And like, I think this last week I got 2 bingos off the shenanigans we got into.
So just to clarify, this is a live AP as opposed to a pre-recorded. Oh.
That is correct.
Never had the pleasure of doing that. I'm definitely interested in in trying one, but I don't know how well I'd fare, to be honest. Um, but yeah, I mean, the bingo cards thing sounds fucking phenomenal.
It is. And I've also made the connection, at least in my head canon, that all of my characters, whether I subconsciously or, yeah, but mostly it's probably subconsciously, have made them into kind of Doctor Who characters. So, or at least I attribute them to the Doctor Who companions. So my first one, Alejandro, was like the Rose Tyler for the group. Then
Okay.
my last character was Martha Jones uh, for my Narup, and now I'm hopefully making my character is now going to hopefully fit the more Donna Noble role. So
Hmm.
I've gone through 9 and 10. So once I get that one and I move on to the next character, whenever that happens, I'll move over to either Amy Pond or Rory Williams, whichever one.
So is this like a particularly sort of lethal campaign that you're playing in, or are you just a risk taking sort of player?
So it's the combat encounters are that can be deadly.
Hmm.
Whitney, God bless, does not hold back, and if they do an amazing job as to make it seem like everything is like the dice are telling the story.
Hmm.
And for my first character, his arc really just ran its course. We managed to find where his daughter was, and after being separated for so long, he's trying to do what he can to get to know her. And so for me, I can't justify in my head why this guy who's now found his daughter after so many years would continue camp going with the group. So he goes and bees and is with his daughter right now.
Yeah.
They're still doing adventuring stuff because occasionally Whitney will drop, you know, the little bit of lore here and there to kind of keep us up to date as to like what's
Hmm.
happening to him. But I, Justin, have no idea what that is. So yeah, I'm just as like, if you look at my reactions whenever Alejandro is brought up, like those are legit. I learned
That's
something new.
amazing.
Cool.
No, that is
Um,
fantastic. That's phenomenal. And
yeah.
where can people find that?
Every other Friday over at twitch.tv/smoking glue guns. And you can also find Whitney, at cons throughout the year. Next week, she's going to be at VidCon selling her dice. Because last year she won Best Dice Maker. And then this
Hmm.
year she's going for Best Dungeon Master for the D&D category Crit Awards. So shout out to Whitney. You're the best. Keep it up. We love you. All the compliments to Whitney, no matter how much she cringes at it.
That's it. We like to make people cringe on this show. Just by all means, go for it. So
Yeah.
have you been doing any other gaming during the week?
Yeah, so what is it? This last week I did another recording for Somebody's Heroes and on Thursday, and then we had to cancel a game on Wednesday for my group, Rebels Without a Cause.
Hmm.
Or not a cause, Rebels Without a Castle. And so hopefully we'll come back next week and continue on because we all have a whole lot of spicy things going on with our characters. And then I had two of my home games. I run a Tal'Dorei Reborn home game with my group that's been playing together for the last almost 6 years now.
Hmm.
And Curse of Strahd group ran with the DM being the amazingly talented Jenna Daggers. So we've been playing that for a couple years as well. And yeah, that's pretty much been it for gaming here. I'm also in the process of moving, so if I sound a little echoey, that's why. Generally, like the
That's
room is like has a whole bunch of shit to it. There's lights and all that good jazz, but we're packing. We're hopefully looking to be in the new
yeah.
house next week.
Yeah, I mean that is on the cards for in the future for me as my partner and I are looking to move in together. So as soon as we find somewhere, I'm going to be in that exact same situation.
Yeah,
So yeah, that I don't know. I'll be recording out of a fucking tin can for the foreseeable until everything gets set up. It'll be done.
yeah.
So as for me, on the Monday, we got back to playing GM Mistress's Winter Pathfinder Second Edition game in her homebrew world. That is with Misfit Playland, who you remember
Oh
from our
yeah.
Call of Cthulhu game, her partner Clippy, and my best friend Chris. That is, if Call of Cthulhu was chaotic, this rivals it. This rivals
Oh
it
wow.
because out of the 4 characters, the only one that has any social know-how whatsoever is Chris's character. So he is now becoming a bit like a babysitter for us. And we're not making his life easy at all because Misfit is playing a sort of a Leshy type character, but she is essentially a force of nature that has been created through anger. So she has no sort of connection or love towards humanoids or mortal beings, as it were. I'm playing an automaton that is a robot, essentially. He does not know any sort of social practices whatsoever.
Yeah.
And Clippy has just brought in a character who's from a tribe. So again, unaware of any sort of social norms. So it is just absolute chaos, and it is so fucking fun.
Love that.
And yeah, Mistress Winter manages to kind of keep it all together somehow, much like yourself in the Call of Cthulhu game, just a professional at what she does. And then on the Wednesday, instead of playing our usual Fabula Ultima game, we played some more Savage Pathfinder, learning the rules, and I'm absolutely loving it.
Hell yeah.
Yeah,
What is it? I know people brought up Fabula Ultima. I've not had the pleasure of playing that yet. Sounds like an interesting TTRPG to play. It's just one of those like an opportunity has not presented itself yet. One of these days, I will jump into it. Either I'm going to run it myself, or maybe stars align where I can. But
it
I hear
it
good things about
it
it.
it is a very good system. It is a very good system that does what it sets out to do.
Mhm.
And what that sets out to do is to replicate the feel of JRPGs.
Mhm.
All right. So, in combat, you don't have any sort of there's no sort of circumstance bonuses. There's nothing you can't go, I'm going to run behind this tree. It is very much rolling against rolling, but that is the way the system is designed. It is meant to be that way. As opposed to like Pathfinder, which I ran my last session of Pathfinder last week, and it that's what it became. So
Okay.
Fabula Ultima just gets rid of all the preamble of all it just basically you are facing these creatures, you roll, we roll, you roll, we roll, and then we see who wins. And it's a weird thing to make something so metagamey, but it kind of
Mhm.
works because that's what it is intended.
Yeah. Okay.
Very much an ability collecting system, a level better class based system, kind of like D&D and Pathfinder, but it encourages to mix and match the classes to kind of give you a lot more flexibility.
Hell yeah.
So yeah, it's a fun game, and if you're into JRPGs like RGM is,
Mhm.
then that's all you need because it is. He loves it.
Hell yeah. I love that.
Mm. So yeah, I'm because I've kind of taken a step away from GMing Pathfinder, and by step away I mean never fucking doing it again. I'm now getting into Savage Pathfinder as an entry into Savage Worlds, and I'm absolutely loving it. I think it's a fantastic slept on system that more people need to kind of get on board with.
Yeah, I could see that. I played Deadlands.
Hmm.
I played Deadlands a long time ago. It was like a one shot for my group. Given the fact that at that time I'd only ever ran D&D, it was
Hmm.
a different take on how to how to run and how and the use of the mechanics of it was something that I wasn't prepared to try and understand, and it took me a little bit to gather. But I'm like, look, I'm trying to tell a story here. We're gonna have a good time, and we're also celebrating our maybe our second or third year anniversary as playing
Hmm.
together as a group. So you know what? Rules be damned. We'll figure it out. Fuck it, baby. We ball, and it was a good time. And that's where I'm like, I really enjoy telling more story based
Hmm.
games more than I do combat focused games.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of where I'm at. Because I've made the comment multiple times that you don't need a GM for Pathfinder. And I
Yeah,
still maintain that. Just kind of boiling down to the base of it, where you could quite feasibly go, okay, so this creature's AC and DCs are this. Just roll the dice, and it doesn't have an impact on the story. And as much options, because that's something that Pathfinder kind of sells itself on. You can create any character you want. We've got all these multiple options. It's all well and good, but when you get into combat, you are still very limited with what you see on your sheet.
yeah,
Whereas other sisters, Savage Worlds being one of them, it's everything is a circumstance.
for sure.
Hmm. So yeah, I'm getting really into that system, as well as playing Delta Green as always, and Blades in the
I do love
Dark
me
as
some
and when
Delta
I
Green.
can. Delta Green is phenomenal. We have a game. We have a game that hasn't quite materialized yet. Bringing back the bringing back the Call of Cthulhu gang.
Hell yeah.
It's going to be
Uh,
Impossible Landscapes, which I'm already currently in a run through of, and I can't wait to do it again.
Hell yeah. I love that.
Hmm.
One of the things I love about Delta Green too is that now we're in we're bringing in a little bit more of a structure. Well, that's one of the things I like about it is because they bring in a little bit more of like the structure.
Hmm.
So now you know you are aware of what is going on, and
Hmm.
you are actively trying to combat it, and you may be part of some sort of government organization. And don't get me wrong, some like for me, it took me took me one like 2 games to like fully break like, all right, government job. I'm not beholden to these rules, so I can legitimately do what the fuck I want
Yeah,
and have the fun that I'm looking to have out of this game.
that's a thing my players still kind of struggle with is the white knighting.
Yeah,
It's okay, I'm gonna point my gun at this person and tell them to stop. It's like, why? You're a Delta Green agent. He's a threat. He's an unnatural threat. Fucking do something about it. And it it's hard to break people out of that pattern. But Atlas's question this week was, this Sunday is Father's Day. So I got to ask, what's the best family dynamic, or even better, a father figure that you have seen in a game? All right. So we are going to start with GM Judger Jones. I love that name. That is absolutely fantastic. It says a character called the Visionary in a mage campaign was an adversarial mentor to a PC from an unnatural path. His decisions led to the other PCs reawakening to other unnatural paths, which then fueled his ascension to Archmage. He then wove their paths into the tapestry, and the players became leaders in a new magical society. The game ended with the Viz sharing his pride in the PCs for standing up to his authority and creating his path to save them, how much they've grown, etc. That is a fantastic answer. I absolutely love about that. I never played Mage though. I have never played Mage, and I've always been interested in World of Darkness in general. I do actually have VTM, the latest edition. Never played it. So if anybody wants to invite me along to a VTM or werewolf or mage one shot, I'd be well up for that. All right. So moving on, we've got Darth Oldius. Our good friend Rob says Miguel's path to enlightened immortal got sidetracked when his daughter asked him to be her champion. It's a thing in Palladium. The gods tried to recruit enlightened mortals. She wasn't the first god. Cher wasn't the first goddess to make the try with Mig, but he turned that one down. So again, never played Palladium. Never. This is all news to me. Our good friend Constant Connell writes, I ran a Fading Suns game, where one of my oldest players was the father and the rest of the players were his adult children and adjacent. They bickered, they fought together, they had touching moments, they had times where it looked like the family would be torn apart. Yet, at the end of the campaign, in the epilogue, almost all players cried at the father's passing. It was real, it was raw. Best game I ever ran. I love in a game where you can create such a moment of passion and emotion in, it's a constant reminder of why we do this, why we're in these fucking games. And okay, Delta Bravo Heart says, gonna say Noble 1 in Halo Reach, or maybe Buck in Halo 3 ODST. Both with the way they looked after their subordinates. Carter's last words still stick with me today. I've got the mass. Never played either of those games, so unfortunately, I can't relate. But, I'm glad you brought that to us. I'll probably give him a whirl one day. My kid's getting into Halo, so I will probably be playing at some point alongside him. I'm out to Slayer. Says, I tend to celebrate my grandparents during Mothers and Fathers. So if I'm allowed to count that, I say it's going to be the grandfather from Stardew Valley. Another game I've never played. He knew you were going to burn out working as a corporate drone and set you up for the second life he knew you'd need. If anyone plays Stardew Valley, please kind of write in to tell me what that fucking means, because I've got no clue. I know it exists as a game. It's never been something that really sort of landed on my periphery. And Diceaholics has posted a picture of someone from Baldur's Gate. Again, no idea. Video games are my fucking Achilles heel, man. I've got no idea about them, unfortunately. I used to be far more into them, but now it's just I don't have a clue. But basically, it's a picture of an elderly-looking elven gentleman or half-elf, full beard. He's got like some sort of bling on his forehead, and I'm assuming as an in-joke towards Baldur's Gate players, says, "My man did nothing wrong a day in his life." So again, write in and tell me what the fuck that means, because I'm not going to look it up. That is just flat out not going to happen. But we're going to be posting the next question of the week up in a couple of days or so. So keep an eye out for that. Keep answering those questions, because we're going to keep reading them. I will read out a couple of questions that we have been asked, and hopefully you can kind of offer some insight into these questions. Okay, so our first question comes from Corey Painter over on Blue Sky. This is a general question, but Corey, I am going to answer you personally as well, because you've asked this for a particular reason. That's something that you're working on that you want to include us, but I thought I would put it out to you as well, Justin.
Okay.
So he asks, what is one thing you look for in a game system?
Oh, that is a great question.
I know, right?
I think so. I think it comes down to a couple of things you have to ask is, who is the game system for exactly? Like, if I'm getting with a group of friends that generally that I know like doing a whole lot of combat, then I'm looking for a game that has cool combat mechanics in there to be able to maintain their attention, as well as give them the very thing that they want, right? So D&D is obviously the first one. It does not It's not the only one, obviously, that does combat. Obviously, like we mentioned before, with you playing Pathfinder, it offers a lot it offers a lot as far as combat is concerned. I understand that it's a very crunchy game, especially second edition, that I've skimmed through. But that's it's going to come down to that question of like, what is it that what is your group looking for? Because if you also have a
Mm,
group that is enjoying more of the storytelling aspect, there are a lot of games out there that fill that role too, and that also give you plenty of mechanics that add to stories. So I think that's the first question to ask, and
mm.
that's also looking at it like a pro GM kind of a deal, right? Because and even as GMs within the AP space, it's what are we looking to do? What kind of performance are we looking to do? And if and not even and if we're looking at it from the, hey, I'm just getting my friends over there, like I mentioned, what do your friends like to do? That's a great place
Mm.
to start, and then you kind of go into, all right, well, let's go Pathfinder second edition because they love doing crunchy numbers and they like throwing everything in there and rolling and scoring as high as they can. Or I have people that like telling stories with as little, maybe as little dice rolling as possible. And at that point, I'm looking at Rah Rah to see what games they have, because a lot of their games are that they've written are more story based, story focused. Don't really
Yeah.
need a whole lot of rolling
Mm.
dice, you know?
Yeah. No, yeah, I appreciate that, and I do think you are right, because it all depends on the table. As for me personally, like the games that I enjoy the most, um, it's a weird one, and this is going to sound like a really vague answer because only because I struggle to put it into words.
Mm,
But for me, a system has to click.
okay.
So it doesn't stop with learning the rules or not learning the rules.
Yeah.
So for example, I'm in a cipher system. Okay.
Mhm.
I have read the cipher system rule book from cover to cover. I have learned the rules of cipher, and for the most part, I could probably pick up Cypher and run it today. However, it hasn't clicked.
Yeah.
There is something in there that I just can't quite get my head around. I don't know whether it's a logic thing. I don't know whether it is understanding a design philosophy.
Mhm.
I can't quite figure what it is specifically, but I know the rules to Cypher. I won't run Cypher because I've just got it doesn't click with me. Whereas we take Savage Worlds, the moment I started reading Savage Worlds, I went, "Oh fuck, I get it."
Yeah.
And that prompted me to learn more. And I'm still learning. I I cannot say I know the rules to Savage Worlds, and I probably won't ever know all the rules to that system, but I get it. I get the philosophy behind it. And that's why I linked up with Pathfinder so heavily, is because I understood it. Another example is PBTA games.
Yeah. Yeah.
There's
Okay.
no real learning of the rules necessary. They're very straightforward. They are very simple, like very well defined sort of rules. I just can't bring myself to kind of go, oh yeah, I get that. I'm gonna enjoy playing that. I just for some reason I really struggle.
No, that's
So
understandable.
I
I think
think I don't.
that also goes back to the whole thing of like who your audience is, right? And I totally get that with
Hmm,
Savage Lands. I read the roles. I know how it's supposed to be, but similarly, it doesn't click in my head. Like, am I doing? Is this like? I don't understand like you said, the game philosophy for it. Now, you give me a Powered by
hmm,
the Apocalypse game, I could do that all day. You give me a one-page TTRPG, what is it like? I think it's there's one based off of Waffle House. Like I can play that. That's fine. That makes sense to me.
Hmm.
But there's like you said, there's some games the philosophy behind it doesn't click for me. I get that.
Yeah, and it just gets to, I don't know. It's really weird, and it's sometimes frustrating because Cypher, as an example, I invested a lot of money into that system because it was going to be my go-to.
Yeah.
I was going to, because I needed for like a future project, I needed a versatile system. I needed something where I could kind of go, right, now we're Western, now we're prehistoric, now we're cyberpunk, now we're fantasy, and have the mechanics kind of follow the players around. Cypher is one of those systems that is its design. It's okay, this is meant to be a kitchen sink sort of toolkit. And so, I kickstarted a lot of things. I got bundles. The amount of Cypher properties that I've owned
Mm-hmm.
is ridiculous. But I've looked at it and looked at it and looked at it, and the moment someone said Savage Worlds, I've gone, okay, so I'm now going to invest in this and just keep
Yeah.
that in my library for bragging rights.
For sure, for sure. Yeah, no, like I said, I totally get it because it's like I know mechanically this all makes sense. Maybe I don't know. I don't know how to describe it, but I at least like I see where you're coming from with that because I've experienced that myself. And
Hmm.
I don't have I wish I had a workaround to it. It's just one of those like if a game clicks with you, fantastic. You're probably going to
Yeah,
find one that doesn't, and you just kind of okay, well, maybe one day.
that's not for me. It's
Yeah.
it's not for me, and that's it really. But I mean, to actually give Corey something a bit more specific, and I'm trying to remember the point that I had in my mind a minute ago because it's annoying. Oh yeah, um, for me, I think one of the reasons why I like Savage World so much is because it has the right amount of crunch for me.
Okay.
I'm beyond the level of crunch that PF2E provides. And I think the level of crunch or the lack of, no, I would say lack because that sounds dismissive, but the openness of a PBTA game, for example, that for me is a bit too loose. So I think Savage Worlds provides the right amount of crunch where there are rules for everything, but everything is optional.
Okay. Fair.
That everything is circumstantial and optional, where it's like, yeah, we've got rules for this, but if you don't want to use them, just crack on. And I know that you can do that with every TTRPG system, but when I'm looking to purchase, I'm looking to purchase what the designer's intent is, not
Hmm.
what I can do with it. If that makes any sense. So
No, that
Savage World
yeah.
is designed in that way where you can kind of go, yeah, you can pick and choose what you want to use, and the system supports that.
That's okay. No, yeah, that
So
I definitely get that. I wonder if it's also it probably also relates to like your philosophy as a game, what you look for in
yeah,
that
what?
game specifically.
Mm,
Like you said, you like having the structure. You don't necessarily use it all, but at least if you need a back
mm,
to it, it's there available for you. Versus maybe like me, where I can go with the system with next to no significant structure, like you would with Pathfinder or D&D, and
mm, mm. Yeah, and I don't. It's weird because I don't know whether it is a lack of sort of confidence where you see like a PBTA game. For me, it's like, is that too open? Is that too open? Do I need to have the backup of being able to kind of go, I'm just going to double check this rule? And this is just me kind of, this is me, yeah, this is me just kind of going over this in my head at the moment. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah, no, I think that is it. I think that is definitely something to consider, and definitely something I'm going to kind of look into going forward. Um, but we do have another question. Um, da, 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 da. Where is it? There we go. I'm a professional, you see. All right, this is from our good friend. This is from our good friend Constant Connell, and it is: what was the most problematic player encounter you've ever had, and how did you deal with it? Mhm. Mhm. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. No. No, I 100% agree. I was kind of racking my brain with this one because I can't really remember a specific. I got one in the end, but it took me a while, and um, I whereas I've dealt with people professionally for most of my career, I'm very good at spotting red flags before they become red flags. So I will always kind of interject, and I'll always kind of establish a soft boundary to begin with. And um, if that doesn't work, then I am a very vocal person. I don't have any qualms in in pulling somebody up, whether it's privately or whether it, if necessary, in front of the rest of the table, and just go, no, that's not how we do things. You're welcome to walk away. I can find players. I've got no trouble with that. There was the incident that I can remember it was in a Pathfinder game that I was running, and it wasn't so much a specific player as it was two, and it was a clash of personalities because both of these players, they're very retaliatory when it comes to being the butt of a joke. So if something happens and someone may prod a bit of fun at them, they retaliate. They can't stop. So they can't get to a point where it's kind of, okay, this joke has kind of gone on long enough. They neither, and the problem was one of them had a joke with the other, and it began this back and forth. And it began to escalate, and it got to a point, it's like, right, you two, fucking behave yourselves. Pretty much in those words. And only because, again, not only knowing people, but also knowing these players and knowing how they react, I knew it was going to escalate to a point. So it was a case of, right, you two, fucking knock it off right now. We're moving on. It was fun until it wasn't, and let's just carry on with the game. And, they took a bit of umbrage, but that's not my problem. Hmm. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. It does. It does. And just to kind of add on to that, these games that we play, that they are based on a social contract, and that social contract is to make sure everybody enjoys themselves. Whether it's as the GM, whether it's as a player, they have to enjoy themselves. However, if you are the GM of the table, you are the person who has the responsibility of mediating that social contract. Not to say you've got to get him. You're not to say that people can't stick up for themselves, but at the same time, if push comes to shove and you need to make a decision, as hard as that decision has to be, the social contract has to be upheld. So yeah, but that's a really good question. I do like it when people post shit like this because it makes me think. Hmm. And yeah, and if you want to see Justin and Justin's use of safety tools, you can check out our episode of the Crit List in which Justin came along and ran us through a Call of Cthulhu one shot. Justin has been nominated for an award for that performance, and I couldn't be any more proud than to have that as being the reason why, because you did such a fucking phenomenal job. And I want to talk about that for the rest of the show because I don't get to talk about it to too many people or people who weren't there. I mean, Misfit and I every now and again will start going down a rabbit hole of, remember Brittany and remember Toby and remember Vicente. And, it's good to kind of chat about it because it was such a clutch fucking game. And in terms of having a lot of work to do because of the chaotic nature of the players, you were up against it, man, and you excelled. Hmm. It was something special. It was because it was yourself as the I think it's storyteller. Is it storyteller or handler in Call of Cthulhu? Keeper. So you were the keeper. It was myself. We had Lone Wolf, Twisted Fates, if you want to find them on Threads, Misfit Playland, and Juicy Garland. And what a fucking lineup that was. So what I mean, because obviously you were the one kind of we were talking to about our characters. We didn't know our characters until we actually kind of I think it was session 0 that we started kind of learning our characters and building them together. So I want to get your take on what you thought of the characters. Hmm. Brittany. Hmm. It was amazing, and because we had Misfit was Brittany, Brittany what and yeah, her character was amazing because she came off as this sort of stereotypical valley girl. I think she there was the term she used. But being a Brit, I don't quite get the reference, but I've seen enough American movies to kind of follow along. So yeah, that's kind of what she played. But then there was one moment in the episode where there was a really obscure knowledge roll that had to be done. And it turned out she had the highest in the party. Her character was insanely intelligent, but because of her being an actress and being in Hollywood and the pressures that came with that, she kind of kept that side of herself hidden, which I thought was so fucking good. Uh, mm. And Twisted Fates Vicente. I well, okay, just to let you know, as much as I nominated you for GM, I nominated him for PC for the Crit Awards because he was so fucking good. I think the sandwich was a touch of genius where he that came out of nowhere, and I think that whole scene where he's unconscious, and I think it started where Juice's character was dragging him, and you can just see him on the actual thing going like that, going backwards. And I thought, fuck me, that is the funniest thing I've ever seen. And then the slap happened, and it just sealed it. Oh, Jesus Christ. And the whole Vicente thing between his character and Juicy's character, who was Dr. Barbara West, I think. I may be misremembering, but that whole back and forth between them that persisted throughout the session. Oh, Jesus Christ! It was a fantastic, fantastic time, and again, you showed just how good you are, in my opinion. Mm. Oh, yeah. It, mm, yeah. Yeah. Yeah, it was that was it was I appreciated you doing that because I had this idea for my character Toby, who I played as a naive person. He was a very naive sort of person. And I based him off of Tobias Funke from Arrested Development, where he was a psychotherapist and he wanted to be an actor, so that was his whole thing. What I didn't tell until that moment was his backstory was a lot darker than you would have expected, because to kind of pursue this dream of becoming an actor, he flat out left his wife and kid back home in England. He walked out on them to pursue this dream. So as much as he was quite a lovable character, there was something inherently narcissistic about him. Either narcissistic or oblivious, whichever way you kind of want to frame that, that's what he was. And giving me that option at the end where he had his final thoughts, that was where I was able to kind of reveal something that hadn't come out in play. Hmm. Yeah. Hmm. Yeah. I think you made it quite. I think you did make a very valid point, because in an AP which is designed to kind of be presented to an audience as opposed to just the people at the table, it is important to, if you want to show your creation, as it were, to this audience, it is important to get that out. And I think a lot of what happened, especially within the interactions, because there was friction between Brittany and Toby, and there was friction between Barbara and Vicente. And I think during those moments of friction, we definitely saw facets of the character that wouldn't have normally come out in play. And I think, it's a testament to your ability as a GM to kind of give us space to allow that to happen, but also to the talent that was at that table. And I'm not including myself in that because, as far as I'm concerned, I was the newbie to the whole AP thing. But, just exceptional performances from Juicy, Misfit, and Twisted Fates. It was, one of my favorite things that we've done on this channel was that. And I think everyone should go check it out and check out why Justin has been nominated for this award and see just how deserved it is. Hmm. 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 Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I mean, that is something that I definitely picked up from you doing it. It was, and it also gives you insight into why a character reacts the way they do. If you know how their mind works and then you see them do something, it kind of fleshes that out beyond the, oh, this has happened and this is my reaction to it. Whereas having the sort of insight behind that, kind of going, okay, so this is where their mind's at right now. I think it is a phenomenally powerful storytelling tool. And yeah, it was absolutely fantastic. But that is regrettably about all we've got time for this evening. So Justin, thank you ever so much for joining me here today. It's been great catching up with you, man. Speaking of, I was going to say, speaking of socials, do you want to tell people where they can find you? As for me, you can find me pretty much on most of the socials, barring one in particular, which I don't like to mention. I'm either too legit to crit or I'm at Natural Juan. I'm mostly active personally on Blue Sky, but Threads is definitely a close second. If you like what we do and you want to hear more, like and subscribe to the channel. If you want to support us in a more financial way, we've got a Ko-fi account, we've got a merch store that feel free to peruse. And also check out all of our shit on toolegit2crit.com. You can find the show there, you can find our blog, you can also find our links to our socials. But most importantly of all, I want to thank everyone who has taken time out of their day listening to two people randomly waffling on about tabletop role-playing games. Thank you very much. Good night, everybody.